So now that we know how to make a basic game, we're going to learn how to make your adventure games remember the choices your players have made. We do this with something called variables. Now, if you've taken some math or some computer science, you might know what variables are, but we can review it as well. Now, first, see here, my awesome game is there. I want to delete that for now because I'm going to make a new game. So you click here, and you can delete the story. It'll ask you, are you sure? You can delete my awesome game. Okay, so what is a variable? A variable is kind of like a box that stores information. The information can be any kind, a word, hello, a number, 4, or something more complicated, like a whole character in the game, or another in-game object, like a potion. The variable can change over the course of the game. You don't just put something in a box and seal it. You can take things in and out. For example, in video games, a variable could store the current score, and the score is going to change. Another could store your health. A third could store the name you put in. The first two, the score and the health, change all the time, while the name may only change once at the start of the game. Or if you're playing an unusual game, the game may change later. Maybe if your character gets married, they could change their name. So let's start by making a new Twine game. I click on Story. I'm going to call it My Amazingest Game. Add. This should be familiar from last time. If you don't remember how to do it, you want to go back to the last video and watch it again. Let's name the first passage Start, so it's easy to remember. Notice, remember we talked about the icons last time. We know what two of them do. This is test. This is delete. This is the same as double clicking. It's editing. This one is to make it the first passage, the rocket. See how it has the green rocket there? That means when you press play, this will be the first passage they see. Because later I could make a new passage and say, oh no, I want a prologue. I'll make that the first passage. In that case, you'd click on the rocket, and that would become your first passage. Now, it's called Start, so let's say we're making a game where we give the player a choice of two names. What is your name? And remember to put the square brackets. Let's say you can be Jordan, or you can be Taylor. Oops, I made a typo. Make sure you put the right kind of brackets. Taylor. Jordan and Taylor. Okay? Now, we want the game that you'll get to choose your name, but also that later in the game itself will remember your name and maybe call you by your name. So, to do that, we must start by making a variable called name. Now, to make this, right here, I'm going to put, let's put it before the top of the game. I'm going to put the variable. Now, the way to make a variable is very specific. So look at what I write. I go open parenthesis, set, colon, space, $, name, space, to, space, quote marks, no name, quote marks, parenthesis. What this will do is it will make a variable or a box called name, and inside the variable, inside the box, it'll say the name is no name. Okay? So let's break this down more. The parenthesis, or the round brackets, tells Twine that you're writing code and not just text for your game. Okay? If I try testing this passage, See, that doesn't appear because it's code. It's not just normal text the player sees. If I didn't put the parenthesis, then Twine would think it's just text, just like this. Okay? The variable is called name. I could call the variable anything I want. I could call it my name. I could call it game name. I could call it lubu 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 if I want to. But I want to call it name so it's easy for me, the game designer, to work and remember what everything is. Okay? The $ here tells the game tells Twine, that this is a variable. Okay? 2 is a keyword. You use the keyword to tell Twine you're making a variable to something. Then no name is the starting value of the name. I could make it nameless. I could make it empty. I can make it anything I want. So empty. Or I could call it nameless. Whatever. I chose to call it no name to start with. The quote marks around here tells the computer that no name is text. Okay? Usually, if you're using a number, you don't want to use the quote marks, but you want no name is text, so we put the quote marks. Then you close your parenthesis. Okay? Now, ta-da! Okay. Now, let's make the name change every time or whenever we go to the path that changes the name. So we want, if I click on Jordan, it should make your name Jordan. And if I click on Taylor, it should make your name Taylor. Now it's very similar, so I'm going to copy this. Then I'm going to go into Jordan. And instead of saying set name to no name, I'm going to set name to Jordan. Oops. Jordan. And then for the other passage, I'm going to paste it as well. And I'm going to set name to Taylor. Okay? This means when you hit each passage, the name should change. Now we need some text in the passage. So I'm going to say, now let's begin the game. I'm going to put my square brackets. And I'm going to copy this because I want to put it in the other passage as well. Notice, now let's begin the game appeared. But in Taylor, I'm going to paste that. And notice, they both lead to the same one. Now, here, I want the game to say hi and say your name. So I can say hi. And this time, I can just say $, and I have to type the name of the variable exactly. So, I make sure my variable is called $name. So here, I can put hi, $, name. Now, let's test, see what happens. I press play. What's your name? Jordan. Now let's begin the game. Hi, Jordan. That worked really well. Let's try it again. What's your name? Taylor. Now let's begin the name. Hi, Taylor. That worked really well. Awesome. Now, I want you to pause when I'm done talking, and I want you to try doing this. Make a variable, give it a starting value. Remember how to make a variable. Then make 2 choices. Each one gives it a different value. And then make another passage which refers to the variable. You might want to make something like, what's your favorite color? And then say green and blue. And here you can say, oh, my favorite color is also, and then put $color. Okay? So pause and do that. Now, you can make many different variables that store many different things. In the next lesson, we'll see other interesting things you can do with variables, like counting. which is important. For example, you can count how many keys the player has collected, or you can count how much health the player has. Awesome.